How's it going, everyone? Today I'm just giving my brief thoughts on The Pale Blue Eye, out now on Netflix, starring Christian Bale, Harry Melling, Gillian Anderson, and Robert Duvall, and directed by Scott Cooper, the same filmmaker who made movies like Hostels, Out of the Furnace, Black Mass, Crazy Heart. And it's about a veteran detective who is coaxed into investigating a murder that takes place at a military academy in the 1800s. And in general, I'm definitely a fan of murder mystery period pieces like this. Films like Sleepy Hollow, Ravenous, From Hell. It's one of those genres I just love when it's done right. Even though Scott Cooper isn't a director I've been 100% on in the past, he's always been competent enough with style and working with actors that when I found out that he was directing a murder mystery like this, with a very direct Poe theme and reference to it, I was very optimistic and very intrigued. And in terms of atmosphere, style, cinematography, production design, and just overall visual impact, Scott Cooper has never been more on point as a filmmaker than he is here. Even though he is working within the dark blue palette that you expect with a lot of these sorts of movies, he still allows for a full range of colors to have some semblance of brightness and definition amidst all the darkness. There's never a point where any of the action that transpires feels physically hard to follow. The way they use light and shadow to sometimes mask and other times accentuate a character's presence, it's executed with such painstaking care and elegance that I don't think a painter could have done a better job. Christian Bale plays the detective with his usual intensity. He also manages to affect a more weary, laid-back note here. Don't let the subdued weariness completely fool you though, because this is a guy who's got secrets of his own too. The scenes where he gets to shoot the breeze and grow close with the young Edgar Allan Poe, as played by Harry Melling, are probably the highlight of the movie. There's a relaxed warmth and flow to their banter that makes all their conversations feel very candid and spontaneous, even though they obviously weren't. And Gillian Anderson gets a supporting role that lets her chew the scenery in all sorts of ways that she never could when she was Dana Scully on The X-Files. As a matter of fact, it's not hard to imagine this same story being updated for an episode of The X-Files. In fact, that's totally doable. And while this might not be Cooper's most violent or brutal movie, he still manages to pepper in enough grisly depictions of autopsies and mutilation throughout the proceedings to make everything feel appropriately ghoulish and gruesome. The principal issue that holds this back from being a movie I loved instead of a movie I simply enjoyed is honestly the same problem that I've had with a lot of Scott Cooper's previous films, and that is the pacing. I don't know, maybe it's just one of those things where I'm a different cat and Scott Cooper's a different cat and we just don't see eye to eye artistically when it comes to this particular part of the movie. But this movie, just like every other one of his movies I've watched, for all the talent that's on display, I do find myself sitting there wondering when we're going to get past all the lag and all the chit chat and really kind of get onto something. Maybe he's one of these guys who thinks that you have to have a certain sort of ponderous, deliberate pace to your material in order for it to be qualified intellectually. But I've seen more than one movie in this year alone which reaffirms, as I have said before and I will continue to say, you don't have to be slow to be smart. If you shaved even 15 or 20 minutes off of this thing, you would have a really nice 90-minute or so B-movie gothic murder mystery on your hands. And when the big reveal for who really done it finally comes, it ends up feeling like a letdown because there hasn't been any steady escalating tension for that to be weighed against in any way. The plot does add up and make sense when it's all spelled out for you, but it never really registers as the show-stopping twist that the movie seems to think it is. That's partly because the story's overall structure is so haphazard that it makes it hard to figure out whose story this really is and who we're really supposed to be getting behind. I wasn't sure if I was supposed to be more invested in Christian Bale's story or in Edgar Allan Poe's story. The dramatic payoff between the two of them is built to fairly and carefully, it's just not a particularly memorable one. So while there are certainly other movies on Netflix that I can recommend first, this one is still probably worth a watch if you're someone who enjoys gothic mysteries and gothic fiction and you just like the overall feel and atmosphere that that period evokes. Just don't go in expecting a masterpiece, and I think that you'll be just fine. But then again, I never expect masterpieces from Scott Cooper, but that's just my own personal opinion. Anyways, thanks as ever for watching. Catch you with more content real soon, and you guys have a great day.